match.
We are live.
Jesus. We are live. So Pep apparently lives in Salford.
Wild, right?
He's been doing it for the last 8 years. He's been living there for the last 8 years. I think that's kind of fucking crazy considering, you know.
Interesting scoreline that we had yesterday too.
Incredibly interesting. We're gonna get into that in a little bit. Welcome to Snobby Boys! That's my homeboy Joe.
We did it. We're here again, folks. What's up? What's up?
What is up? Oh, what a great weekend it was, wasn't it?
Man.
Fan-fucking-tastic.
Before 3 in a row.
Right, 3 in a row, finally. We're on the uptrend.
Hey, man.
Before we get too far, guys, make sure you hit the like, make sure you hit the subscribe, make sure you hit the notification bells, make sure you're following us on social media at SnobbyPod. That is on all platforms, unless you're on BlueSky, which you can find us at snobbyboyspodcast.bsky.social. So, Joe.
Colby.
What are we talking about, bro?
On today's episode, we will be reviewing the Salford match, of course. Big 8-0 win. We'll dive deeply into that, see how it goes there. This guy. Who invited that guy to the party? Jesus.
I don't know. It's funny. He asked us what time we went on literally like an hour ago, and I'm like, bro, we post about it.
Luke, what up, Luke? Here. Chad, good to see you. George is in here too. George's comment will pop up here momentarily. Good to see you all joining us on this lovely Sunday afternoon before the NFL kicks off. So tonight we will, like we said, we'll review the Salford match, dive into that one a little bit. We'll talk a little bit about what happened with our typical first teamers, and then we'll also talk about the young guys because we had a very heavy mix between the two there. So we'll talk about that. We'll dive into the city and community news that has popped up. We got a lot to talk about there over the past week. Lots of important news has crept up on us. So we'll dive into the transfer happenings that are going down. And then we'll wrap it up with a little bit of bro talk at the end of the show. And
a lot of bro talk a lot of bro talk. Yo, pussy. What up, Steve?
Dear George, we're not doing this again, my friend.
You're sought out. We already know you're full of shit. All right, so let's get into Salford, yeah?
Let's do that.
Walking in, no Ruben, no Stones. Eddie was back. He made it into the starting 11. That was nice to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, going into the starting 11, but I'm going to let Joe preview the Salford thing a little bit, and then we're going to talk about the starting 11 because this has probably been the most scary starting 11 we've seen. It was very attack heavy, if you will.
You ain't kidding.
But yeah.
So coming into the match, Salford had only lost twice in their last 13 games, dating back to the beginning of November. So they'd been in a good run of form. They're third in the League Two table, so they are on their primary focus. Really, I think, is trying to get to League One and promotion. So they're doing well there. And then the interesting piece that when we get into the lineup there is Cole Stockton, which was their leading goal scorer on the season. He didn't feature from the start. He came in as a sub in the second half, but you would think he would have started from the jump. What are you seeing?
Some non-related City news. Tom Brady just quit Fox.
Are you serious? I wonder what that means.
For those of you who don't know the NFL very well, and you don't know that name because you've been under a rock for the last 20 years, probably the greatest quarterback to ever grace the gridiron. Retired once, came back, retired twice, is now an analyst for Fox over here. He just quit the broadcast. That's fucking awesome.
And to be clear for everybody who doesn't watch the NFL broadcast from the American side, nobody really likes him as an analyst, as a play-by-play guy who's talking about it. Nobody likes him.
But he's already annoying to like 90% of the United States because of his winning ways. But yeah, so apparently Ryan says that it was on stipulations on him broadcasting and running the Raiders.
That's been going on all season.
Yeah.
So
he's also been running Birmingham City over here at the same time. So
now here's a guy.
What up, J.O.?
J.O., my guy. What up, man?
Let's go. All right, back to business at hand.
When we first saw the starting lineup come across the board, it was quite interesting to see only two dedicated defenders. Only two. One of which is a young lad who had only seen a few appearances with the first team. No, God, no.
I don't never. Listen, I will happily take the shitty commentators we have now in this sport
over that guy,
over Collinsworth. Oh my God, it's like him and Buck. Joe Buck, no.
John J.O. exactly. I'd rather not.
He knows.
I'd rather not.
He knows.
Yeah, so only JSP and Ake as dedicated defenders, and as soon as we saw that, I was very interested to see when we didn't have the ball, who was going to be playing those outside back positions. And it turns out it was going to be Nico O'Reilly and Mateus Nunes, I think, dropped in in the right back position when we didn't have the ball. Thankfully, we spent majority of the match on the front foot and let those guys were able to get forward quite a bit, and didn't have a whole lot of defensive responsibilities because of how well we played and whatnot. But that was very interesting, and the just the combination of young guys getting more opportunities, but also letting some of the guys who are just coming back, looking to get into form, getting some run too. Nope. He's JSP because you and Steve Black can't contain yourselves when we say the other word. But seeing Grealish and Gundo get some run to get some form was great to see. And then you have Divin Mubama. Getting in there, JSP in there, Nico McAtee's getting some run. Like it was such an interesting blend of guys on the pitch. So when I first saw the lineup, I was like, "This is gonna be yes." Yeah. So it was very interesting to see that come out. My first thought was like, "Okay, we're going full on attack mode. Pep is not playing around," and I was happy to see quite a few young guys getting run, which is what I think all expected. It was interesting looking at the just reading through like the bench and seeing the absolute quality that we
dude,
had sitting there.
anybody would be jealous to have that bench.
That was absolutely insane. So, yeah, it was just, and then just seeing the next thing was like, okay, how are we going to line up? Where is everybody going to play? Because we know when the lineups come out, and then you see ESPN's projected where they're going to line up, then you see what they put on the broadcast, and then you see what City put out. The actual formation is always different depending on what avenue you're looking at. So I was very curious to see where folks are going to line up, how deep people were going to be playing, where Jack was going to play, because some people were having him out on the wing, but it turned out he was playing pretty much as the 10, with McAtee and Gundo kind of supporting. So it was just, it's so interesting right now seeing who's going to play, and then also where they're going to play, because with Pep, we never really know who's going to line up where, and then who's going to play where, like as the game progresses too, because people's positions change as they see the game progressing and how the game like turns. So
speaking of Jack, so a lot of people have been on the fact that they want Jack gone, especially with this potential Marmouche coming in. I think it's kind of sorry to say, I'm going to be real as fuck today just because that's how I feel. It's stupid, and here's why. You spend £100 million on a player, right? If he's not performing up to the fans' expectation, why should I give a shit? He's there for £100 million. I'm going to make him work for that £100 million, and if I got to move him around to find his worth, that's what I'm going to do. And right now, especially with this match, I understand it's an FA Cup match. I understand we fielded a lot of youth in it, but having him come in as the 10 and work. Because I've been saying it since the beginning of the season, ever since we saw him during preseason.
The receipts are there.
Centrally. The receipts are there to work more centrally. And that's just what he did. And how much better did he look doing that? You know what I mean? And then to have McAtee kind of following up behind him, like that, I thought that was a really good pairing. Now, it's a big change from having Phil and Bernie there. But it was warranted and needed. And I would really like to see this tandem going forward if, in fact, James McAtee does not go and leave us in this window, because that has been the talk. And that's a little worrisome considering the performance that he had in this match. We'll get into that a little bit later. But, yeah, people need to start looking for and stop this mindset of one in, one out. Like, it doesn't really totally make sense. It's stupid because, again, we spent quality money. What's up, Rod Jack? Welcome to the show. We spent quality money on this guy, and he's a quality player, but he's also been injury sustained for most of his tenure with us. So it's like, where's the give and take in this? One, two, leadership is something that we still need on this team, regardless of the fact.
And guys like him, a lot of times, two things there. Locker room, he is phenomenal there. We know, we've heard that talk with guys like Calvin Phillips, how great in the locker room he is, but I don't think Jack has ever reached that level of play where like Calvin was. Calvin was clearly not up to stuff, even though he was great in the locker room. Jack can still help us as long as they put him in positions like a 10 role where he can actually utilize his skill set to the best of its ability. He's been playing on the left wing the majority of his time with us. That's not his natural position. And what I heard on the broadcast, which I rarely agree with the people who are talking because they're idiots, but when they mentioned that Jack often just wouldn't drive to the byline.
I love my kid. I love my kid. Let's go.
He was talking about how Jack wouldn't like take a risk and take people on, and he would often just recycle play. That's fine when you're a 10. That's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to you want to keep possession of the ball as a 10 and facilitate, and that's what he's best at, not necessarily being out exactly because of the attention that he draws. He doesn't lose the ball when he has it. He just draws eyes and attention. So, and that I think is so much more effective and necessary in the middle. On the wing, we're not looking for guys to necessarily do that. We need guys who are going to be more progressive. We're going to take people on, run in behind. That's not Jack's game. And that's okay. But there's other ways he can be helpful and effective, and playing him more centrally where he can keep possession, recycle the ball, draw fouls in dangerous positions. Those are all things that are helpful. And he's not a bad locker room guy. People love him. People love Jack Grealish. So and again, we didn't bring him in for 100 million pounds to score 25 goals a season.
Mm-mm.
Or
he's a contributor at best.
Or to get 25 assists in a season. That was never what we were bringing him in for. It was not. So if people were harping in on the fact that he hadn't scored a goal the entire calendar year for City, that's like, okay, granted, you expect a little bit more production there, but we never signed him to be a big goal scoring guy. We have people to do that already. We don't need him to consistently put the ball in the back of the net. We need a little bit more from him, and I think he would agree there. But oftentimes that's because he's being asked to play not out of position, but he's been not played in his most effective position, I guess. So,
and I think everybody needs to also get a grip on the fact that everybody in this squad is a squad player. There's so much negative connotation to the word squad player.
Like it's a bad thing.
In our case, everybody's a squad player. You're part of a system, and you need to work that system. You're not going to work the system, you're not going to get pitch time. It's just as simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I feel like bringing in this mix of youth and experience, age, veteran leadership is necessary. What I have been seeing since the beginning of the season, since last season, is we're starting all these names, right? Always starting all these names. And they might be boys in the locker room, but they surely don't put it together that way out on the pitch all the time, because everybody wants to do their own fucking thing. Everybody wants that goal. Everybody wants that contribution. You look at the way they played yesterday, everybody was helping everybody out. Everybody was in a spot. If in the event of a shot on target, somebody was there to get that ball back. The presence in the box was so much better.
They were definitely playing for each other and finding the right mix of guys who are meshing with each other on the pitch is so important. Pep usually finds that core group that he's going to roll with around this time of the year to roll through the rest of the season. He hasn't really been able to do that for the first half of the season because out of necessity, because guys have been coming in and out of the lineup. He's had no choice but to roll with whoever's healthy. He hasn't been able to, like, you know what? These guys are really blending well together. They're training really well together. I put them on the pitch together and you can see their connection. We haven't been able to do that all fucking season because people have been injured all the time. So I think that's a great point, that finding guys on the pitch, because clearly everybody really gets along off the pitch. Like the guys love each other clearly and are very supportive of one another. But finding who's meshing well and reading each other's movements and understanding how they're playing and together on the pitch, super important. And yesterday's match, you could see that oozing out of everybody. And then one of the big things yesterday for me, just seeing from the guys on the bench to the manager to the guys on the field, just seeing everybody smiling yesterday.
Yes.
That's
the first time I've seen that in months.
Exactly. That to me, the biggest takeaway for me, it was great to win 8-0. Overall feelings on the match, obviously we played great, banged in 8 goals. It looked like a FIFA match towards the end of the second half where we were just passing it around and not getting it in. But for me, the biggest takeaway was, man, they just look happy. Everybody was smiling. Guys are starting to get healthy. And you could just see the joy was back for pretty much every player on the pitch. And to me, that is so important because for the longest stretch during that terrible run, you could see it was just weighing on everybody. And it was totally in everybody's heads at that point. So granted, it's Salford. We're not going to overreact with, oh my God, we're back. We're scoring 8 again. It's just nice to see the positive vibes continuing. 3 straight wins, 14-1 aggregate score over those 3 games. And you can just see the body language is different now. The guys feel better. When you feel good, you start playing better. You play good. Feel good, you play good. So for me, that's the biggest takeaway from the match.
Positive signs, hard to take from this. It is. I mean,
exactly.
This is a give and take kind of situation where you have to understand that, yes, this is a League Two side. They're good for where they're at. Yes, there is the 20% chance that a lower team will beat a Premier League side, and I've done that math just over the course of this competition. There has only been one team from a lower side that has beaten a top side and moved on into this tournament this season. But
almost had one with Tottenham today. Tottenham almost lost to a non-league side.
Well, Tottenham always does Tottenham things.
There you go.
But yeah, I mean, it's just it's the fact of the matter that yes, this is a lower side, but you know what? Conversely, it's a confidence booster, just like Steve said. It's a complete and utter confidence booster, and that's what we need right now. Yes, we've run through a couple of different competitions over the last 3 matches, right? But getting these wins and stacking them is a positive move forward. This is what we need. We have lacked confidence because of all of these injuries, and now we're finally getting to the place where we're on the uptrend of health and fitness. You know, having an 8-0 blowout over a League Two side, I mean, I can't see a negative in that. I just can't.
Nope.
Yes, it's a weaker side. Yes, they are not as capable as we are. But that's not to say that, I don't know. It's just
they did what they're supposed to do.
They did what they were supposed to do.
You're supposed to maybe not 8-0, but like you're supposed to come out and look like a Premier League side against a League Two side. They're fourth tier English football team, which is like had we come out and struggled, then in a totally different scenario, right? But if you win and dominate, it's like, well, it's just Salford, which is fine. We're not going to overreact, but getting the bugaboo off of our backs at this point, that's the most important takeaway. Whether we won 8-0 or 3-0, doesn't matter. Play who's in front, and they did themselves exactly JL. The young guys and the older guys, both, whoever was on the pitch, all did themselves proud. They played well. There's really no negatives to take at this point.
I mean, yeah, it is part of the the point of the tournament, but also I was having this conversation with my son about the FA Cup and how it's very unique. And it's not just in the English football leagues; it's also in the German leagues and whatever. But it's very unique in the fact that, like, if you were to take every American football team, right, professional, semi-professional, whatever, and throw them all into a tournament, it would just be it would be a domination of NFL teams in that tournament, right? Where in this competition, you could be a 4th division team and have a day. It's not to say that these lower division players, I'm not saying that they're incapable. They're just not put in the best positions as far as where their career was at and how it got there. They're all fucking hella talented players. More talented than any one of us sitting here. Any one of us.
Big facts.
So it's not to take it away, but like he was trying to kind of comprehend like playing that many teams, and as I'm thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, it is unfair. It is totally unfair because you have a Premier League side that has millions, almost billions of pounds, and then you've got a League Two side that's barely making $1,000 a match.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So the revenue isn't quite the same. Therefore, you can't put it out. Plus, all the different league rules and stuff like that. That wouldn't happen every year. So, trying to explain that to an 8-year-old
Right.
versus just having the brains to understand being mature. Not saying that my son is stupid. He's far away from that. I hope he's not in the car fucking clenching his butthole, getting tears in his eye. He is. He's one of the smart. I love the fact that he likes to understand things.
Yes.
But anyways, I'm going off on a tangent. Yeah, there's just there's not really a way of saying that this tournament is easy for a Premier League side, because that would be false. But yes, it's part of the reason why we have this competition, so that they can get the exposure. Not only that, players will get exposure, which is nice, because who's to say there isn't somebody down in the non-league that you're like, damn, I need him.
Right. You just don't obviously get an opportunity to see him very often until you have this type of competition. So,
yeah.
And that's we was talking about it with the family, was like, think for Salford, you're like, what a cool opportunity to like, we get when you get the draw and you're like, oh shit, we get to go to the Etihad, we get to play against the Phil Fodens and all these players, and it's like, that sounds great and you're super excited, and it's awesome until like the 12th minute, when you're getting your brains beat in, and it's really not so much fun when you're just chasing the ball around and everything. So it's like it's like a double-edged sword, I guess, because it's something that you'll get to tell your grandkids about. Like, I played at the Etihad, I played against Man City, the best team in the land. But so like after the fact, you'll probably have like see it kind of with like rose tinted glasses. But when you're in the match at the time and you're getting your brains beat in 8-0, you're probably like, this kind of fucking sucks. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
So it's because they're professionals and they're competitive, and they probably knew like it was a very long shot and for them. And you probably in their, deep down, they expect to lose, but maybe not 8-0. So it's just like, it's such an interesting dynamic that this competition brings, where you have these low level teams playing these big ones. Sometimes they're able to come through and get a result. Other times this is what happens, but it's just a very cool experience, I think, for all parties involved to have that happen.
For sure. One of the American pundits over here, he's on ESPN FCF, bigger guy, what's his name? Used to be a defender for, I want to say it was for Liverpool, maybe Blackpool at one point.
Is that Burnley? Burley?
Yes.
Craig?
Craig, yes.
Yeah.
So one of the things he said yesterday that I almost kind of agree with is that Premier League sides during a draw, Premier League sides should always be away.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So it gives that team the ability to make some revenue during that match, because nobody knows that they're going to move on. And Steve just put in there that these little bit clubs, that they can get into a big game and they get a lot of money. That's if we're on a regular day. I can't imagine that some of these clubs break the 10,000 mark. Just knowing how businesses are run, and what most of these places sell a ticket for, especially on the low end. I mean, you're not trying to price out all of your locals, right? So they've got to be relatively cheap. I think it would be in the best interest if the FA would look into it and say, you know what, up until round whatever, we're going to allow all the lower teams to be at home. So help the revenue. That would, I think, on the overall, that would help the entire league. Yeah, not just one side or the other.
Yeah, the FA's job is to help build the game across the country, and I think that's one really good way to help grow the sport in those smaller towns, those lower tier teams. They get a boost with the revenue. You get the tourist, but you have people coming into the town to spend money. I'm like,
Right.
these things helps those smaller clubs. If you have like the likes of a Man City, Tottenham, Liverpool coming to you like your home stadium. Jo said City charged 20 for the Salford game. Tamworth were asking 41 for a ticket against Spurs. Okay, interesting. So they were.
I'm not sure on Steve Black's rebuttal to what I said. It can't be the revenue versus Gates a lot less than.
I think they're saying they wouldn't be. He wouldn't be willing. They wouldn't be willing to give up the revenue because of the size of the pitch or the stadium. Maybe much like
Understandably, but I mean,
sacrifices need to be made.
This is where financial literacy is lacking, because if I can bolster my small clubs, that means my bigger clubs are going to in the end make more money. Right? We already know that they're going to go off into bigger competitions, the biggest competitions within the league. You know what I mean? Like, I just, I don't know. I business models. Maybe I'm not looking at it from the right perspective just because I haven't been over there yet, and I don't have enough experience being there. But from a business perspective, if my lower clubs are doing good and they're raising money, that means my higher clubs are doing it too. So I really don't care about the. They own more at the Etihad than at home games.
The away team. So Salford earned more coming to the Etihad than they would at a home game. Is that what you're saying,
That
Steve?
seems so ass backwards.
See, thank you for explaining that, because this is helping us understand what's going on over there, because we're obviously not on the ground floor.
We're ignorant.
We're dumb Americans, bro.
We're just dumb Americans, right?
Oh, that's interesting. So
So they make more going to play at bigger stadiums
than they would at their home stadium. Okay.
See, that just seems so ass backwards. And I guess that's because we're so used to players over here in, NFL, NHL, MLB, whatever it may be.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Thank you, Jo and Steve, for filling us in
educating
a little
us
bit more.
And Rye. But he said I'm American too, and he had no idea. So bringing people together, learning new shit today on a Sunday afternoon. I love it.
Beautiful things. Beautiful things. Yeah, I still think it's ass backwards. You should be getting paid more at home than you are away. And if you're in your contract, there are stipulations for whatever stats you have to acquire in order to get pay bumps and all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, different ways of doing things, I guess, but all the same, it still feels ass backwards. Let's discuss, say, Gates 50-50, 45,000 at City or 5,000 at Salford Gates. Okay, so because there's more seats there, they get more revenue, and then they also get TV deals, and then they also I
didn't know they did 50-50 split of the gates.
Yeah, I didn't either. I figured that would be more of a like
home team
80-20 split, considering that only a bit of it is away. You probably compare it to FBS play.
That's not a bad.
No, that's not a.
Yeah, it's not a bad comparison at all, Chad.
So basically,
Appalachian State. Who did they beat? Was that Michigan? When Appalachian State beat them, was that game?
App State beat Michigan.
I got to look. I can't remember.
That's a little hard to believe. For those of you guys,
Appalachian State became the first FCS team to defeat a ranked FBS team, and it was
Michigan in 07.
07, yep. There you go. Yes, yeah. So very apt comparison, sir. Appreciate that. I remember when that happened because I have some I have friends who are Michigan fans, and they were not thrilled back in the college days.
Shit, we were We were young and dumb at that point in time.
You ain't kidding.
2006, 2007.
20,
Shit,
20 years old, man.
right? So we kind of discussed the typical first teamers and youth players being on and their performances.
Yep.
Is there anything more that you want to add to that?
I think that, I mean, obviously Macca put in 3.
Macca.
Really solid performance there. But I kept being drawn to and watching Nico at like that left back position. And he can play anywhere. I mean, he plays holding mid, he's an attacking mid. He showed, I think, in that match that his versatility, and I was really impressed with his defensive acumen, but also knowing when to get forward at times too. Like I just came away super impressed with his performance. So I thought Macca was phenomenal. Very deserved man of the match, and Ball taking home that hat trick ball. But I just was super impressed and really liked watching Nico doing his thing in a new position where he'd never started or played at that position before, and to come out and perform as he did, I thought was great. And then our striker, I thought he had really good off ball movements. I thought there was times where he was participating in the build up play, and guys were finding him and trying to feed him, and he was doing a great job using his physicality against their center backs to hold up the ball. And it was interesting on the broadcast. I remember hearing in the second half, they were making the comparison between Holland and not getting the same kind of service, but the commentator said much to what you and I have mentioned on the pod before, where yes, Holland doesn't always get the service, but he doesn't always help himself by the movement off ball. But Devin was constantly in motion, looking to make runs in behind. He was looking to win the ball back quickly, and was offering his services as a target forward to get the ball fed to him so people could play off of him more often, because Holland does those things. This is not a bang on him at all, but he's just not as consistent at times with it. There's times where you just see him kind of drifting, and he's not really a threat or making himself feel like a threat, so people aren't like overly concerned with it. And then as a center striker, you kind of have to demand the ball in those situations. If you want the ball, ask for it, show up, put yourself in positions, and tell them, like, give me the ball, feed it to me. But too often there's times where he's kind of just like drifting almost. So it was really interesting it was just like, to me, there was just so much to watch. Like, granted, we were comfortable, it was 8-0, but just seeing, for me in these situations, I love being able to watch like the younger players get opportunities to show what they have in this kind of setting. So, and then having, your Gundawans and your Grealishes, Ake/Akanji, because they both got a half out there to kind of like help guide them and be like the calming experience presence. I love when we get matches like this, whether we win 8-0 or 3-0. But for me, I really enjoyed watching Nico, and I really enjoyed watching Mbama, or however you say his name. Mubama. So, and then got to tip your cap to Macca for his hat trick, and you could just see how excited everybody was for him. So,
yeah. So that kind of leads us into man of the match, right? I have a 3-way tie for man of the match. Right?
Okay.
So you expressed how Nico did, and that was very, very notable in this match. He did miles above what we thought he could do, especially the way that the starting 11 came out. Everybody was like, what the fuck is he going to do? I'm sure of it. What's his role in this, right? He played very well, very notable, right? Then you also got to think about Doku. Doku scored 2 and assisted 2, right? And he got everything going. So that's number 2. Number 3, for the obvious reason, would be Macca for 3. Now, Steve Black even said, and yes, Macca did not show up really comparative to the last matches until the second half. Now, I really think that it could have, I lost my train of thought. Sorry. I read Ryjack's comment and it stuck in my brain, and then it stopped whatever thought I had going on. Nico, yeah, you can put him as man in the match, but I mean, as far if we're talking about contribution and stuff like that, I mean, he contributed to less of the three.
Mm-hmm.
Doku was absolutely excellent yesterday.
From the first whistle.
Yeah, and this is the Doku I think everybody wants to see. Now, you're good, Ryjack. Excuse me. So like for me, I really, like I said, it's a three-way tie. It's very hard to pick who that man of the match was because there were so many different things going on. And like Joe was saying, and what I just said, like there was so much more going on around the pitch in so many different spots that you couldn't really keep your eye on one place or a few different players or a cluster of players, if you will, to kind of keep up with the match because we were distributing the ball on both sides of the pitch. That is something we have not done very well for a while. We usually stay heavy one side or the other, whether it's the left or the right. And I saw a lot more fluid movement from left to right than I've seen all season. So I don't know. It's a tough one. It's a real tough one. But on the overall, I think for me, I'm going to pick Doku for man.
That's who I was going to go with too, because he set the tone from the jump. As soon as he got the ball, he was always looking to be progressive and running at people and using his pace to run past people and get in behind. His pace and desire and hunger to get down the left and right side, because he was on both flanks throughout the game. I was just like super duper impressed with him and seeing that confidence. That's like you said, that's the Doku we all want to see. The confident, very direct, pick up the ball, make a decision and go, not the one who's takes a bunch of steps and then just passes it backwards. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. The guy that we want to see is the one who's quick, decisive, go down the line. And it was nice seeing him being able to play balls in on his dominant side. That we were seeing the benefits of having Savinho on his natural side on the left and Doku on the right, and being able to put balls in.
Thank you for bringing that up,
from the corners, because oftentimes they've been inverted and they're always trying to cut in, and that does work at times. But when you're always doing that and teams know that, it just creates a clogged space, and they're not worried about the width so much.
Yeah,
and we're not able to get balls into the box and get service for Holland and Foden and Kevin and players that are making late runs. So having those guys on their natural side, taking people on down the flanks, and then just putting balls in, it creates such a more dynamic offensive attack, because you said we used all parts of the pitch and both sides throughout the whole match. It wasn't the same old just rinse and repeat pattern of play. They mixed it up, and they were very dynamic in their attack, and you could see that causing problems for Salford the entire time.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And I do have the United Arsenal game on the TV, like on the other side of my screen, so it's definitely going to Pens. United has been down to 10 men for a while and have stopped a PK during the game when did Arsenal things, trying to buy shit, and their keeper was able to stop one already. So we're going to see some fireworks here shortly with the PK shootout. So,
yeehaw. Oh my god. All right, so that kind of gets us through it does get us through the Salford review. We're going to come back here in a minute. We're going to talk a lot of city and community news, because there's a ton of shit to talk about, especially with the transfer market open. A lot of names been swirling around, 3 in particular. And then we're going to talk about some scenario shit moving forward, and some other things that Joe has put in here for us. So we'll be right back.
This is America. Don't catch you slipping now. Don't catch you slipping now. Look what I'm whipping now. This is America. Don't catch you slipping now. Don't catch you slipping now. Look what I'm whipping up. Yeah, this is America. Under my area. I got the strap. I gotta carry.
Make sure that you go pick up your dumb American ride, Jack. I'm just kidding. No, for real though, make sure you guys go check out the store. There's one of our many t-shirts, hats, mugs, things we got on our store. Please go check it out. You can check it out. Hold on, where is it? Right there. If you hit that QR code, you can also hit the more section if you're on YouTube or on Rumble, and that will tell you, or Facebook, I believe too, and that will give you links to our store, to our website, to our Instagram, I believe, social medias, whatever. Make sure that you go check it out. It'll be really helpful if you guys want to do that and stuff.
Do that and stuff. We're doing well, Reese. How are you, sir? Thanks for jumping in and watching a little bit on Facebook. See, there we go. We're getting people watching on that platform now too. So
finally,
right?
Fine. Actually, funny enough, ever since we hit the 100 mark on Facebook and we're able to start putting our videos on Facebook, our followers has gone up, but it's always the typical thing, man. And I don't mean to be any type of way, but it's typically Nigerians that are following us on Facebook. So I'm waiting for them to show up in here and start talking shit at us.
Appreciate you, man. Right? We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. I did,
dude. I feel like Steve is.
I did
like hijacking our notes.
I know, right? He knows what's in there.
Because Steve, when we were creating the notes, Colby put that almost exact fucking note in there.
Literally verbatim.
Stop hacking our Apple Notes here. And
Steve Black's a hacker.
Because he also put the Juma Ba thing in there too, and I'd add that in there today too. So I feel like he's done some wizardry.
He has a little mystic over there. Let's jump it off. Savino was named City Player of the Month for December. Congratulations to him. Give him a little crowd.
Clap.
Congratulations. I believe that's his first City Player of the Month since he's joined the club. So congratulations to that.
Well deserved. He had a
very
really
well
nice stretch.
Yes. Good to see him coming into form and getting used to the side and being somebody that we can lean on a little bit. That's very awesome to have. Mm-hmm. Do we want to because we didn't really have this in any particular order. Do we want to kind of get some stuff out of the way and then talk transfer, or transfer now and then?
Let's do transfer.
All right.
Let's go with the one that we know for sure is happening.
Okay.
That is confirmed. Which is Abdukodir Kusanov. Deal has been finalized. We're just waiting for all the documentation to be signed at this point. But he is on his way. He will be coming and joining us from Lons.
I did say that. I think it was on Luke's channel. I was like, man, I want to see that thing in sky blue. God bless, man. We'll get there in a little bit. I don't want to get fucking too excited.
Yep. So fee is around 30 million pounds, I believe, is what it's and with potential add-ons to make it go higher depending on performance. United just saved the second PK. So it's 2-1 United currently.
So who are we rooting for?
I put in the chat that I feel like the Arsenal fans have been the most unbearable folks on the planet this past year. So I feel like I have to root for them to lose so they can get their comeuppance. But it's
Right.
I'll say I hope Arsenal loses. I won't say anything about who I want to win. We'll go with that.
Well, good choice. Good choice.
So,
Hey, listen. Yeah. So, Steve, the Cushy era has now begun.
Cushy,
because it sounds
So,
like
something else. Yes, Jo, I'm pretty sure I am with the streaming on this side of the pond.
Yeah, that always happens, guys.
Always happens.
We're always 30 seconds to a minute behind you guys. Yep. You got so yeah. Information travels faster to you because you're there and present versus we're a whole ocean away.
Yep. But super excited to have him come in. He's 20. He's got his first team experience in League One already. Fast as all hell. Tough. Got a great mentality. People have compared him to a younger Ruben Diaz with his mentality, his attitude, his toughness. The one thing that people have mentioned about him is he's not super vocal, but that's, oh my God. We get this excitement going forward for the next 5-6 years that we have.
Yes.
Before,
so much Cushy.
But so he'll get there when it comes to the vocal piece. You want your center backs to be very vocal, talking, organizing. But if he's partnered with Ruben does enough of that for everybody on the pitch. So he'll learn that as he gets older, as he gets more confident in himself. I'm sure, and plus language barrier. He's probably still.
Thank you for bringing that part up.
Still probably learning how to, the language itself, and then once you actually learn it, then you actually start getting more confident in being able to direct people. So,
yeah, dude, I don't know if anybody on that team knows how to speak Uzbeki.
I don't think so. I'm gonna go with probably a no.
No.
So as he learns the language a bit more and gets himself acclimated, I think we have a bright future ahead of him, and he's coming immediately. So we've needed extra defensive reinforcements where people are healthy. Even with guys coming back, we know that we can't rely on guys who have consistently been on the training table to be available for us. So we need to have depth in the back line, and he will absolutely provide that. So I'm really glad that they're getting this done early, that at this point we're just waiting for all of the medical shit to get done and the paperwork to be signed, and then he'll officially be unveiled as a City player soon.
Was he recently on Love Island or something?
There were pictures of him I guess doing more photo shoots and looking all like seductive, with his shirt off and all those kind of things. So.
Got you. No, and with this incoming, I said this. We said this earlier about the 1 in, 1 out thing. If we're gonna play that game, the 1 in, 1 out, thing, I think replacement would probably be like John says. We understand that Kyle's on his way out. We'll be discussing that here in a little while. But the replacement there, for me at least, is John Stones, because how many times is Homeboy going to get injured? How many times are we going to have to wait around for his services? He's turned the bend of 30. He's not been consistent. He's been consistent when he gets on. I won't say that he's not been that, but like he hasn't been consistently healthy for it to make a difference in the long term. Honestly, for somebody who's been there for as long as he has, he should be more of a captain presence, but he's not anymore.
You can't be if you're not on the pitch.
Yeah,
it's a shame because he had such a good Euros with England. He was playing so well, was one of their key players, playing every match, and then the consistent injury bug for him this season with us is just really, because I thought after the summertime and how well he performed that he was going to have a really good season for us. Same thing with Jack. Like he had a really good preseason, and you think like it's going to be a really good season for some of these guys, and then they just couldn't. Their bodies wouldn't allow that to happen. So, and that's the good thing about having more people in here, bringing in Kushi, whatever we're going with. And you let him do his thing. That gives John more time to really get himself healthy, and then he can help us out in a variety of positions. He can help us out at center back. He can help us out at right back, because Lord knows we're going to need some help there pretty soon, since club captain is going to be departing us here as soon as they can find a resolution. And then he can fill in, as needed as that holding midfielder, which I've been banging on. But he's not going to be somebody we need to have out there every match. He can be spot filling in here and there, come in as a substitute to really get his legs back under him, and we can actually start taking some time to fully get healthy so he can actually help us when he's on the pitch. But he's not going to be somebody you're expecting to start, 10 matches out of 12 at this point. I love our chat.
Old dust bag. Old dust bag down there, yeah?
I love our fucking chat, man. I love our chat. It's the best. It is the absolute best. So Kushi, whatever we're saying, he's coming in. That is officially done. We're just waiting for the last little administrative pieces to get done. So that one's done. Yep. Last time we were on, we had talked about a backup striker coming in, Omar Marmoush, and it looked like at one point 100% on. Next minute we hear it's not going to happen. It's not fully yet. He's probably not going to ready, and Frankfurt's like it's going to take something extraordinary. And lo and behold, this morning the news is that they've reached personal terms and he is pushing for the move now. As soon as the player comes out and starts saying I want it now, the club kind of loses the owning club kind of loses their grounds. So if the players wants it and they can come up with an agreeable fee, it seems, and what I was reading on Fabrizio's page this morning was deals should be done soon. An official bid should be tabled in the next day or two. So this one could move quick. I think you had put in there a potential dollar amount. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think I put it under the wrong thing. Yeah, so his contract looks like it will go until 2029. It'll be a +1 contract, and they're looking around £67 million for that to
get done.
For that deal to be done. So what was great. I don't know if anybody saw. I believe yesterday they played against St. Pauli. He scored the lone goal, so he's definitely putting himself on a showcase for us.
He's up to 19 goals scored and 12 assisted on the season, so he is in top form. Can play across the front line. Can support Holland. They are looking at him as a true Julian replacement, where he can play in multiple positions and support Holland and play together at times, but also give Holland a break, because I think this past weekend's match was the first time Holland's got a true rest in a very long time. And thankfully, knock on wood, with us, he's been very healthy. But in the past with Dortmund and Salzburg and coming up, he had kind of a history of little injuries popping up from time to time where we'd have to miss time. Bringing in Marmoush protects against that, adds added depth, somebody who's going to be a more creative presence and can do a lot for us. So I'm very excited that from the last time we talked to now, things have progressed to the point where a bid's going to be tabled, and it appears that the city are confident that they're going to get the deal done and get him in January, not having to wait until the summertime. So super excited about his abilities. He's mid-20s, 25, 26. So he's somebody who's right in his prime, who's got first team and first flight division experience. So much to like. And I hope we complete that deal quickly so we can get him in soon and get him acclimated and ready to go.
For sure. Sorry, I left that up there, or I thought I left it up there, for the draw, which is happening right now.
Jo said 4th round draw time, they'll let us know. Yeah, if you guys see it before we do, please let us know in the comments so we can put it out there, who we end up getting and all that fun stuff. So we appreciate that. So Marmouche looks like could be done deal in the next week or so. Hopefully that gets done. So 2 names potentially coming in positions of real need that we've been talking about, getting some defensive reinforcements, getting some help in the attack, and some support in case Holland needs a break or gets hurt. We can have somebody who's got experience leading the line and can help us in a variety of ways. So very excited about these 2 potential incomings.
Oh, and there's a potential third to bolster our defense a little bit with Vitter Rise. Apparently, we have reached an agreement on personal terms. Now the clubs are in discussion on fee and if he'll come to City now or if he'll stay there on loan in Brazil until summer.
He plays for Palermas, and they're in the Club World Cup too. So he's one of their starters and somebody that they count on. So the clubs are negotiating right now whether he's going to come now or if they're going to loan him back through the course of the Club World Cup, which would be kind of weird because we own him, but he's playing for another team that's in the competition with us. So I'm sure they'll sort that out. He's 18. He's a little bit younger than Cucci. He might be somebody
more of a development.
Might not help us, right? Even if he comes in January right now, he might not be somebody that is thrust into the starting lineup right away. Much like JSP, who fills in when needed and is able to give us a little depth as he starts learning. But a lot to like there too. Highly rated. Other big clubs were after him as well, but the draw of City is strong with many of these players. And when City comes calling and express interest, that helps our cause for sure, because people know the reputation the club has. They see the success. They see how much the players, once they leave, talk about how amazing it was at the club. That's just all good things. So be very curious to see what happens with him and if we get him now or if we have to wait a little bit into the summertime. But that's 2 center backs already that we're looking to bring in. Clearly, that's a position that they've identified that they need to get younger, more athletic, and get those reinforcements in sooner rather than later. In the event that we lose, multiple defenders, we know that Kyle's on his way out. Johnny seems to be in a similar boat. Ake is about to hit 30, and has had similar issues staying healthy. So it looks like City is doing their diligence to make sure that we have young talent coming through the pipeline and ready to go. One that we talked about a couple of shows ago, and when we talked about him, it appeared Inter Milan had the inside track and was going to be signing him for like 20 million, was Juma Ba. And according to Alan Nixon, he delayed that deal and was his representatives drug their toes a bit, and that has opened the door. And they seem to say now that we're leading the race to sign him. He's there's a lot to like with him too. He's got great size, profile, speed. He plays in La Liga now. He's been starting for Real Valladolid, or I don't know how to pronounce their team name for the life of me. But he's one of their starters, key members of the squad as a young guy. I think he's 18, 19 as well. But a third center back potentially joining up and coming with us. So if you read the tea leaves, what we've been saying pre-January was we need defensive reinforcements. The lads need help. And the club has clearly identified that as a need and are doing everything they can to support the guys and bring in fresh young talent. I saw a couple of highlights of Jumaba, and I'm very excited about the potential of bringing him in and adding him to what we already have. Bringing in somebody with his size and pace is great, but he's very skilled on the ball already too. So he's one that I'm very excited about after watching some highlights of him this morning. So I like where we're headed and the trajectory we're pushing with the transfer window right now. We're looking to get deals done quick, not dragging our feet until the end of it, and they're identifying players that can fit the system and can help us now and in the future. It's just smart business.
Big facts. I love how it always takes a lot of the words out of my mouth. Leaves me nothing to say.
We mind meld, man.
We do. So switching up transfer news, people who are looking to leave. First one we'll get on, especially considering his performance at Salford, is Maka. Allegedly, he favors a move this month with clubs in Germany and Italy interested. Fee being thrown around is like 25 million euros, even though he's well thought of at City, per James Ducker of the Telegraph. After, like, what do we make of this now? What do we make of this now after he had that performance? Yes, he didn't really blossom yesterday until late, which is fine. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the second half Maka. But where does this leave him as far as, with terms of Pep, the front office, him verbally saying he wants to leave for other pastures, and his performance? I mean, what do we make of this now?
He's clearly well thought of at City. Pep likes him, has spoke very highly of him. Leyton Orient or Derby away. Okay. When do we know which one we get? I guess they probably still play maybe later today.
Yeah, it is. Well, there's still 2 matches to play on Tuesday proper for the third round. So it's like, how are we already having the draw?
They like to get the draw done ahead of time, I guess.
Right.
That good matchup. I think that bodes well for us. So, but for Maka, I feel like it's up to him. Does he want to stay? If he really wants to stay, I'm sure Pep would love to have him stay. The 20 to 25 seems kind of low, considering I think we got a bigger offer for him in the summertime and we turned it down. So, but again, much like what we said with Marmouche, if the player decides that they are ready to go and asked to go, Pep has shown in the past, if you want to go, we'll accommodate you because we want people who want to be here. So it's the timing of his performance, putting in 3, whether it was a solid start to finish performance or if it was more of a second half wonder kind of thing. Anytime you put in 3, that's going to raise eyebrows, and people who are interested are going to take even more interest in potentially wanting to grab him. I think the German league would be a great fit for him if he decided he does want to go. I think that would probably be a better fit than the Italian league, personally. And I hope he, whatever his heart desires, I hope that's what he gets. I would be happy if he stays. I think he can carve out a role for us. But if he wants more playing time and wants more first team action, then more power to you and good luck. I hope we get a proper fee for him if he decides he does want to go. So
yeah.
I hope the 3 goals pump the price up too.
Yeah. So do I. I said this last season. I think that McAtee is the KDB replacement. Not a like for like. Nobody's ever going to compare it to KDB. Nobody. But if I'm going to choose somebody on our squad that I think that could be the most capable of doing it, it is Maka. I would really love as well to see him stay, but I'm also of the same mindset of Pep. If you don't want to be here, there's the fucking door. Don't let it hit you on the way out. I want people who are going to be here. I want people, and for me too. Like yesterday, after he scored the goal and he smacked the badge. Like, to me, that's like saying, I'm here to stay. You can't slap that badge and then still want to go on to other pastures. I don't care
Right.
that you've been in a part of the academy. I don't at that point. It's one or the other. Choose your loyalty and choose it well.
I hope this isn't something that gets dragged out over the next 3 weeks of January. As well. I hope they make up. I hope he decides what he wants to do for the remainder of the season, and they put it out there and squash anything. Because I don't want any lingering doubt of is he staying or is he going to impact the positive vibes that we got going on after these last 3 wins.
Yes.
I want all good, positive shit happening to get us back into good form. So I hope they make up their minds quickly, decide what they're going to do, whether he stays and he decides he wants to stay and fight for his place, and that's good, or if he just says, you know what, I'm ready for new challenges and I'm ready to go. Cool, let's get you a move quickly so we don't have to have this hanging over everybody's heads. So
So Gundo's also been a little bit in the news, being linked with Inter Milan and Galatasaray in a summer move. Cool.
Yeah, I saw that one start popping, and he only has a fully 1-year deal. He's got an option for year 2. So if we bring in added reinforcements in the midfield in the summertime, I can see that move happening and letting him go to, if he wants to finish out 1 or 2 more years playing in a top flight league before he,
hangs it up.
Hangs it up and moves into the coaching realm and in the managerial roles and those kind of things. I could see either of those being an option and fit for him. Again, it probably comes down to what he wants to do. I wouldn't be mad at seeing us get younger there in the backup midfield positions. I think everybody knew that once Rodri went down, this was probably a 1-year comeback, help fill a specific role and a void. And unfortunately, he's had to play more extensive minutes than anybody would have probably
liked and expected him
to.
Yeah.
So, you appreciate the service that he has put in with us over the first stint, and then this year, coming back and putting in some shifts for us. But if he wants one more go at being in the first team, Turkey's probably a great option. Honestly, I think
he's Turkish, so I mean it's kind of
a good fit.
It's a good homecoming.
Yeah.
It's a good homecoming at the very least. I think it would be a really good place for him to hang up his boots to Galatasaray for that reason. And I think for getting into the first team a little bit more frequently, that's probably the best move. I don't think that's going to happen to him for too much at Inter Milan. I think he'll get. I think the plan for him there will be exactly what the plan was for him here. And God forbid Inter Milan get into a situation that we have here and they'll have to rely on him. I don't think he'll be any more capable, if not less capable, by the time he gets there. When we got rid of Gundo, when he went to Barca, it was sad for all of us, I think. I think we all wanted him to stay, especially after having the Mr. Whippy moments. But when we got him back on return from Barca, he was a shadow of the player that he used to be, in my opinion. I'm appreciative that he came back, especially as he's one of the very first players I get to see in City Blue. I appreciated that he came back and he wanted to be a part of this organization and to be a part of a winning side again. I'm not saying that Barca isn't a winning side. It's just they're not really that comparable to us right now. Okay. Thank you.
I feel like that's
raids work when we know you.
I feel like that's a bot comment potentially.
Yeah.
It's not even long.
He is our first commenter, whoever it is, first commenter from Rumble.
Oh, on Rumble. Okay, that's why it's not showing up over here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm okay with him leaving. It doesn't hurt me. Um, I care a lot about the guy and what he's done for our club. Um, but yeah, it's time. It's time.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of it's time, Kyle Walker decided he wanted to come out and say that he wants to explore opportunities abroad. Now, let me just put this into perspective to everybody. Yes, he put this out in a shock right after the match, but this was already coming. And I want everybody to make sure that they're understanding of that. This was already coming. If everybody wants to position themselves back to last year, he did the same fucking shit. Said he wanted to find opportunities abroad during transfer, and there was the opportunity for him to go to Bayern, and he didn't do it.
The fee was not what the club wanted for him.
Exactly. Right. So now you're leaving where you were at your prime wanting to move to another club. Now you're off the mark and you want to move. Well, that's okay. We don't need you anymore, pal. I want to say this in the nicest way possible without sounding like a ungrateful asshole, but the way that this is piled up over the last year up until now, like, thank you for your service and everything you've done with us since you come here from Tottenham. But, like, go on. I don't need you. I don't need the bullshit in the news from you. I don't need the erratic play from you. I don't need my captain not captaining my squad. I'm so long. Don't let the door hit you in the ass.
Remember when we were talking about him not receiving the captain's armband a couple weeks ago when he came on and Kevin had it and didn't give it up? And the second game after that, same kind of thing happened. Came on late. Kev was like, "You want it? No?" And he was like, "No, you like." So this has been in the works for a longer period of time than Pep said that he asked officially like 2 days before the Salford match. I think everybody has known before that, before the window really opened, that this was on the cards. I think this is overdue for Kyle at this point. He probably, before this season, needed to go for his personal well-being and his family's well-being. All of the stuff that he has brought upon himself with the choices that he made off the pitch, being in Manchester around the same influences, around all of the media that know all of his personal business. You got, for your mental health, for your family, you got to get out of this area. You got to go to a new start, fresh start somewhere else, for your benefit and their health. You also probably want to go to Saudi to make some cash because you're going to be accruing some pretty hefty
lawyer fees
and probably some payouts to your soon-to-be eventually ex-wife, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's going to be the alimony. There's also going to be the child support. Like, so go get a bag, bro.
we appreciate all of the things that you have done for the club. We would not have accomplished much of what we did without your presence at right back, your pace, your tenacity, your ability to keep things light in the locker room with the players. All of these things, super appreciative. Probably the best right back in the history of the Premier League. It's just unfortunate that it's ending kind of mid-season and kind of sourly because of lack of performance. His performances on the pitch haven't been great, obviously, the past 6 months. And then with all of the extra stuff going on behind the scenes, it's unfortunate that it's ending the way it did. But I'm hopeful and glad that he's come up and him and Pep and everybody are taking care of what needs to be taken care of and saying, it's time. I need to go for myself, for my family. I need to go and get out of here and start fresh somewhere else. It seems like AC Milan, I guess, are kicking the tires and asking what the situation's going to be. Are we just going to let him go for a free and just let him out of his contract, or are we going to ask for, money in return? Obviously, there's still interest from Saudi Arabia for him, much like there was before. The tricky thing here is he has a contract with us for an additional year, so I think he's owed another $15 million over the course of his contract. So that plays a part in any deals that potentially happen coming up with any club that wants to sign him. So we'll see. I think Saudi makes the most sense at this point for him. So
nobody's going to pay wages over here for him at the MLS.
No, they don't have they don't have the funds to
No.
pay City, I guess, or pay Kyle 15 mil on the dollar or for the remainder of his contract. They'll find money for the likes of a Kevin De Bruyne or a Leo Messi, but Kyle's not in that stratosphere of draw, so they're not going to find that kind of money for him.
Mm-hmm.
So Saudi, I think, makes the absolute most sense. Get him out, make as much money as he can, and start fresh over the next couple of years before he hangs up his boots.
Yep.
But it's time to move along, and we have that leads to.
Is this who I think it is?
I really hope that
I really hope that that's Martin.
But it leads to what we do at right back. I mean, going forward, the rest of the season. I mean, more Rico, obviously. But who else is going to play in that position? I guess maybe getting Nunez some more minutes there potentially.
Maybe.
It's not, sadly.
Well, welcome, Happy Clapper. We love Happy Clappers here.
Yes, we do.
We do not hate on the Happy Clapper. So welcome. Is it Tone? That's a possibility too. That's a possibility too.
Maybe he wants to remain anonymous. Whoever he just wants to be known as the Happy Clapper.
If he does, he can DM us and let us know, like, hey, I don't want anybody knowing it's me. Like, yeah. But
thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you for showing up and hanging out with us. We appreciate everybody that's been in the feed this week, or this episode, and that's gotten here recently and added us to their views through the week. Really appreciate that a lot. I got a big thank you later planned, so we'll get there.
Absolutely.
Oh my God! Do you change your name like every fucking other episode? What's up, dog? So Joe asked a question in the notes, and I felt very conflicted by it. He asked, with the Premier League seemingly out of reach, what competition, if any, do you prioritize and go for broke trying to win a trophy? Well, we ain't out of it, so I'm not thinking like that. It's a 12-point disparity. We've seen this before. Liverpool still have a lot in them to drop. It just hasn't happened yet. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the Steelers, right? We went on a good run up until that 11th or 12th game, and then we just shat the bed the rest of the fucking way, right?
Mm-hmm.
I really feel like Liverpool is going to end up doing a big drop-off between February and March. So I don't think that the league is out of reach for us. I think it's still within reach. I think that there's some things that need to happen. But most importantly, out of all of that, it needs to be us that control what we need to control.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Liverpool's looking tired. Their health isn't going to stay up. So I'm not concerned so much for that. But if we're going to go to the original question, go for broke. Where we're sitting on the Champions League table, I don't know. I mean, because that means we have a whole other round that we now have to play versus being in that top 8 and getting that bye.
Right.
So where it all stands, if I'm looking for a guaranteed trophy, I guess you could say, I'm probably going to go FA. If I'm going to choose the two. Like, Champions League, in theory, sounds great. You know what I mean? But there's better teams playing in Europe right now than us, and I have to concede way to that a little bit. Like, it's not like it was a couple years ago where it was like, we're gonna fucking dominate, we got this, you know what I mean? Like, and that's not to say that we can't. It's just that we've now put ourselves in a position due to injury that we have a lot of ground to make up in one competition, whereas we don't have so much ground to make up in another. And then for the league, it's a matter of everybody else needs to fuck up.
Mm-hmm. So we just got to control what we can control at this point and just
exactly
win our games and let the chips fall where they may with everybody else at this point. Yep. So
how do you feel on that specifically?
I'm not ready to concede the league yet either. I think there's entirely too many points to play for, and everybody else has looked vulnerable at times too. Even the teams that are above us, but not Liverpool, have had moments of struggle and poor performances and drop points. So I do hope that we do get at least a trophy out of this season, and I think the FA Cup is probably our best route to go to do so. And I asked this question in the notes prior to the additional signings that we've looking to potentially make at this point. I think with some added reinforcements, that certainly helps our cause. And I do think the Champions League, as long barring a complete drop off and losing the next two, we're gonna get into what are they calling the playoff, the kind of situation. And I think that honestly might put us in a pretty decent position because we're going to get a fairly decent draw there. And then I can tell you this, none of those teams that get the bye are going to want to see us come out of that playoff and see us get matched up with them in that first round in the, quarterfinals. Nobody wants that to happen.
Right.
Especially if we start getting on a little bit of a good stretch here through January and we start putting some wins together and the form starts getting better. People aren't going to want to see us. And then maybe a little bit of that fear starts coming back into, oh shit, we got to play Man City. For the past 3 months, it's been, oh, City's up. We got an opportunity to win here. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Yeah, the PSG game for sure. And I love that you put in the S as a dollar sign with that club. So that was well done, J.O. Definitely a big one. But I think considering everything that happens, if we still come out of the season with a trophy, be it the FA Cup, maybe if we can somehow pull the Champions League out of our ass, I think that's a great opportunity, and we'll see what happens with the league. Like I said, there's a lot of points still to play. Anything could happen over the next 5 months. So let's see where we fall here in a couple of months. If we're still in the same position and it's beginning of April, maybe we're singing a different tune potentially with the league. But if you want to call me a happy clapper, you can. With the incomings we potentially have, guys gaining some form and getting some health back, I will have faith in Pep and these guys until the season is over and we're not in Champions League positions or challenging for the title. So they've shown us in the past that they're capable of the improbable. So until they show me otherwise, I'm going to keep believing that we can do it. So,
yep. So back to transfer news, because we missed this part. Douglas Luiz has been on the radar, to come back, which, some people really think that would be a great thing. I don't know. I said this before. I'll say it again. I am not a fan of bringing back an ex. I think that once the club has made their mind and released you, that there isn't this happy feeling for everybody when they want to try to come back. Mm-hmm. The only real thing that would make me happy if Douglas Luiz decided to come is if the potential of his super hot baller girlfriend, Alicia Lemon, decided to come over and join City Blue with him like she did for Juventus. What are your thoughts on that?
I think Louise is a little different scenario with the X's piece because he never actually featured for us.
True.
So there's a little bit of wiggle room there. He's a better player now than he was when he was coming through, which is why we let him go. He's gotten better at his time with Aston Villa, and Juventus seemed to have a plethora of midfield options. I think he could help us. He's younger. He's a little more athletic than what we have right now. He can play that 6. I'm not sure I want to spend the loan fee to get him here for 6 months with an obligation to buy for 35, which is what Juve was I guess wanting to happen. I'm not sure I want all of that. I would take him on a short-term loan for the season, and then like let's reevaluate in the summertime for both clubs, kind of deal. But if that means we bring him in, and that kind of ruins our shot at somebody like Zubamendi or Ederson from Atalanta in the summertime, I am not a fan of that particular situation because I think those two players would be a much better fit long term for us than bringing him in. I think, based on what Pep has said, we're not just bringing in short term fixes in January. We're buying for the long haul. So I think that would just be a Band-Aid situation instead of getting somebody for the long term, which I think I would prefer to do. So for me, I think we should look elsewhere if we're looking to bring in
Yes.
if we're looking to bring in a central midfielder, even though it kind of makes sense a little bit on paper. I just looking long term, I think there's better options available for us.
And I don't necessarily think Zubamendi's one of them because for me, I think a lot of people just need to get his name out of their mouth. It doesn't seem feasible. For as many times as he said, I don't want to leave Spain. Like, how many times you got to ask a girl out and she say no before you get a yes, right?
Yep.
He keeps saying no. So like, let's stop asking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. I agree with you there. I don't think he is. Yes, his youth. Yes, his familiarity with the club could be taken a certain way, but I don't feel. Even looking at him at Juve, he would be a good option to replace somebody like Rodri. Now, Ederson from Atalanta, from the little bit that I've looked at him, yes. But how well is he gonna fuse into the team? You know what I mean? Because I feel like you're just throwing names together now. We're just throwing big names together and saying we'll make it work. And when you look at the Salford match and you look at a Premier League match over the past few weeks, like I want to see the energy of Salford again. And I don't know that he blends into that so well. But who's to say? It's not like I know the fucking guy personally.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I think he's a prime option for us in the summertime over the likes of a Zubamendi for sure. Because we all know, like you said, but I think he's worth looking into. I like the size. I like his technical ability. So there's a lot to like there. But do the due diligence to make sure that he's going to fit in well with the players we have currently too. So let's not just because he's a name on a team that's played well in a top tier doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna work. So let's vet everything. Obviously, make sure we're doing our due diligence, which our front office has been known to do. So
very well. So Bob finally returned to training. Thank God.
Team training. Yep.
Really nice to see him back in and around. But I want to make this very well known to everybody. Don't push him back. I'm not. Nobody needs to be on this. We need to get him in. He's healthy. No, dude. Like, let the motherfucker rest. Let that bone fuse together properly, so we don't have this fucking recurring shit happen again. As somebody who's gone through a similar break, I didn't have it in my femur. I had it in my foot. Me thinking that I was healthy enough to go out and run again was the dumbest thing that I've ever done because it hindered me later as I was growing older in my teens and into my 20s and adulthood.
Mm-hmm.
That can affect him very long term. That can make him. You break that so many times. I mean, you're gonna have to have bolts put into that motherfucker,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not what we need right now. That's not what he. I assume it's not what he wants because that was off the option table for me. I was not putting that on the bingo card.
Right.
I think everybody needs to cool it and let him come back naturally instead of forcing him onto the pitch out of necessity. Because we've been playing on out of necessity for the last 17 weeks. We're just starting to find form again. We're just starting to find fitness. Let's just build on that. Take one match at a time still. And not put pressure on people to get back just because we feel we need their services. Having a player come back is like a new sign. Yes. And we've heard Luke say it. We've heard Martin say it. We've said it. It's cool. But like seeing how all these other different players have been working out in different positions, like especially with Doku working out so well on the right in recent matches, I can see him getting a lot more time there and then still rotating with Bernie and Phil. Right? Same with the left. I mean, you could interchange 3 or 4 different players out of that.
We have options on
come
both
back
ways.
naturally. Exactly.
Let the process.
Yes. Let it load. Sorry, we're just catching up on the comments. Yes, Bob and Rodri need the time. They just and allow it. I would be okay if Bob didn't come back to the end of February.
Yeah, let's not
And
put a
that being
timeline
his
on it.
first. No
timeline. When he's ready,
No.
that's the timeline. When the doctors, when the physios, when Pep and the player all decide that he's ready and are agreement that he's ready, that's when he can come back.
Yeah. Faux show. So that's our little take on that. One little last thing in community news that I saw. If I'm not mistaken, I may be getting this wrong. FG, Fahad, the guy who does all the stuff for City, right? He got blocked on X by Kevin De Bruyne. I wasn't really sure why. And apparently he's been blocked by another, I think it was like Rico Lewis or something like that.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I need some answers to this because when I looked at it and I tried to do some research on it, it was just like, what? Yeah, and Marmoush could play wing.
Mm-hmm.
Marmoush is one of those players, and he's no different than Bernie or Julian, or he's a multifaceted player. He can play in 2-3 different roles. He will blend nicely into what we have. What if? Oh, Big Steve was blocked by Rico. That's right. What if Sane returns on free? Again, the X thing.
I loved Sane when
idea.
he was here.
Yeah.
And I would have been happy to bring him back like 2 years ago, but he's pushing 30 now. And we have so much young talent on the wing at this point that I'm content with letting, when Bob is ready, Bob, Savio, Doku, just absolute cook folks on the wings and let those 3 handle, and then supplement a little bit with Phil can play there at times. Marmoush can play there if we bring him in. Bernie can play there. Jack can fill in from time to time. We have other options. We got plenty of depth on the wing. I don't see a need there at all. As much as I love watching Sane play, I think he's one that's also in like the Zubamendi boat. He left us not because he didn't like it at City. He wanted to go back home to Germany and be where he was comfortable. So even if he doesn't re-up with Bayern, I don't know if I see him, leaving Germany again to go play elsewhere. So,
no.
But I love Leroy Sané. Great memories of him. Let's keep those fresh, or the memories as memories, and not taint them with a forced reunion.
Right.
I do like free though. Free's always okay.
Free's always great.
Because if it doesn't work out, then there's no harm, no foul.
Exactly. All right. Well, that concludes city and community news. Let's move into our Bro Talk session. So, as you know, for those of you across the pond, it is the playoffs for the NFL. We're going to talk a little bit about it. So we had originally, Joe had originally put this question in the notes prior to the weekend. It would have made a lot more sense had we did it.
If we went on Wednesday,
right?
Unfortunately, we were both under the weather.
Yes.
At the same
so
time.
we pushed the question off this weekend. And obviously, the playoffs have now started. Yesterday, hold on, I'm gonna bring it up.
Houston Texans won against
Thank
the Chargers,
Thank
and
you.
then
Don't say
the Ravens were able to progress in the nighttime game.
For those of you who don't know, I'm a Steelers fan. They played the Steelers. It's a heated rivalry, probably one of the best rivalries in sports, all but next to the Manchester Derby. I knew this was going to happen.
Right.
I knew it was going to happen. I've literally taken my faith out of my team for what they're doing, because it's been really ever since Tomlin made a Super Bowl on his own. It's been a let's burn the regular season, right? We'll fuck up at the end so then we can get hot going into the playoffs. Well, it never fucking works. Tomlin needs to be held accountable for it. As much as I love the guy and what he's done for the organization and a pillar that he's become in the NFL, I'm done. After last night, after the last 4 weeks, I'm done. I don't want to see him anymore.
Sometimes the message just doesn't sink in anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
I think he's a great coach.
I don't think the message has ever sunk in with those players and teams that he's had, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just don't, because when he won those Super Bowls, when he came into the league, he won those on Bill Cowher's roster. He didn't win it on his own. He took a team that already was established and kept running a system. And then he started bringing in new players and trying to fit into this new NFL thing. It's not Steelers football whatsoever. Once he did that, I was just like, what are we playing for? We're playing for 500? That's not Steelers football. That's not Pittsburgh.
That's not the standard.
And the funny thing is he made a quote for the team, the standard is the standard. Well, his standard is
not good
a shadow of a standard that we used to have. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm very thankful to even have this football because – and for it to last as long in a year as it does, because I'm so tired of that fucking disappointment of being a readily thought of playoff team, and we shit the bed in the wild card and divisional rounds. We have not made it to a conference championship since 2008 when we played the Packers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was the last time we went to a Super Bowl, too. So it's just like, Super Bowl matchup, J.O., for me, it's going to be the 1 seeds. I don't see anybody breaking this Kansas City momentum. And Detroit 3-1-3 looks fucking disgusting. Like I'm scared of them from like thousands of miles away. That is a scary football team right there.
And looks like David Montgomery is coming back for them too, for the next round of the playoffs. So they'll get their two-headed monster running back, and that'll just help Jahmyr Gibbs continue to wreck folks. So I have a hard time seeing anybody beating the Chiefs in the AFC as well, unfortunately, as much as I would like to see Buffalo, or I won't say Baltimore. I live close to Baltimore. I have never been a Baltimore Ravens fan. For everybody who knows me, I was a Redskins fan for a very long time. Dan Snyder soured me on the team that I supported since I was like 9 years old. And I really put them at an arm's length for an extended period of time until I could see that the ownership was going to be different. Now that that's the case, I'm slowly, pulling them back into my watching routine. It is nowhere near what it used to be. I used to live and die on Sundays with how the Redskins performed. I am not like that anymore. If they win, dope. If they don't, no sweat off my back at this point.
Right.
So the Commanders play tonight. So my answer will probably be different tomorrow morning, depending on the outcome. If they're still alive, then I'm going to be pulling for them, obviously. But I mean, Minnesota's really good. Detroit's really good.
Dude, and their record being as low as they are in the seeding, this is unprecedented. We've never seen a plus 10 win team in the 5th, 6th, and 7th seed. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So it's been a good year in the NFC for sure, especially the NFC North. So I hope somebody dethrones the Chiefs. I don't want to see a three-peat at this point. I think everybody's about fed up with seeing the Chiefs win everything on all the commercials. I think we're ready for somebody else. So for Super Bowl predictions, I hope it's the Lions winning it all if my Commanders aren't there. Yep. And if the Commanders lose, that's fine too. I'll be okay.
I think everybody would, in theory, love to see this as the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Bills versus Lions. I think the Bills probably have the best shot at dethroning Kansas City. But that all depends on Kansas City's health. Obviously, they'll be playing at home. Gia Stadium is one of the loudest stadiums in the world. And they built that stadium to do that. It wasn't like a oopsie. Like they purposely made that
engineered that way.
Yeah, it was engineered that way. So going into that, I mean, I think defensively and offensively, the Bills have it to take it to the Chiefs. But them being at home, it being the AFC Championship,
and
I just don't see them.
They tend to get from the referees at
Oh,
times.
dude, they get so much good cooking. Not only that, but God forbid they don't make it because, like, John's saying, I don't want my Super Bowl being ruined by Taylor Swift. None of us do, but that's unfortunately because she's the most marketable thing. They're probably going to want her to be there on Super Bowl Sunday.
It has been
make them a shit ton of money.
At least this year, it's been less. Like the first last year, when it was all still fresh that they were dating, it was like she was just getting shoved down our throats every 2 seconds.
Oh my God.
Year, I've watched a few of the Chiefs games. Yeah, it's been less that way. But anytime it's a big event like that in America, they want to showcase the celebrities and all these people to get views and get people who aren't big NFL fans to come watch because Taylor's going to be on there. So. Yes. It is what it be. I would love to see a Bills Lions Super Bowl though. That would be super exciting. The Bills are gonna have to get by Denver though. Denver's given them a game so far in this first one.
And Denver's looked hot over the last few weeks. So, but here's the thing that I didn't like at the last game of the season between the Chiefs and the Broncos. The Chiefs purposely threw that fucking game. They would never ever put a goose egg on their scoreline. They did it on purpose, and that pisses me off.
Yeah, just seeing the injury. I'm doing air quotes for those that are listening back.
Report, right? Injury
report. All of their best players were all ruled as out for that match. So clearly they had nothing to play for. But to me that's a disrespect to the game, not to at least put your players out there for at least a piece of it and actually try to win. That does a disservice to competition in general, even though, because obviously nobody wanted to see Joe Burrow and Cincinnati get in, and
nobody.
Denver just executed a fake punt. I have that on the background now too, and converted a first down. So their punter just threw it right. Love to see fake punts. So exciting stuff in the NFL. I hope we get some really good games the rest of the way in the playoffs. The college football playoff has been good. Those 2 semifinal matches were a lot of fun. On January 20th, a lot of happening on the January 20th, MLK Day, inauguration, my wife's birthday, and college football final is all on the same day. So Ohio State, Notre Dame for all the marbles. I feel like Ohio State is probably the favorite there. That they seem to have the most talent, and they've been in the best. To use a true football term, they've been in the best form out of all of the teams in the college football playoffs. So for me, I think J.O. had asked about the college football final, and I feel like there's probably going to be Ohio State lifting the trophy.
Yeah. I'd love to see Notre Dame do it, being an independent school, but they're also they're the problem child of college football because of them being independent. They don't get quite. All right, see you later. I know you. I'm sure you don't like American football talk. It's okay though. Maybe you'll learn one day. What was it saying?
Notre Dame.
They're the redheaded stepchild of college football, of the sport, because of them being independent. They don't get quite the same strength of schedule that some of these other teams do. So they basically have an easy path, aside from the fact that when they go in the playoffs, they basically have to be on the road the whole time.
Right.
That's the only real challenge they have all season long. Yeah. I'd like to see Notre Dame do it, but because, the college football program loves money, I think Ohio State will end up pulling it off. For sure.
Agreed.
For sure. So, little thing that's happened recently, I'm sure you guys have all seen, we had Will Daughtry on for Barber Docs Club. We've become very good friends. We talk fairly regularly. He tipped us in on something that was supposed to happen and has not yet. From what he had told us, he was supposed to have Scott Carson in his chair. And they're going to do a whole thing and yada, yada, yada. And Will messaged me the other day and he asked for us to say a little bit on the fact. I don't know the entire story as to whether he got confirmation or not, but I'm assuming that he didn't, or he's not getting anything back, whatever. But from the Snobby boys to Scott Carson, stop pussyfooting around. You said you were going to do something for somebody who is local to the club. It would be of the best interest that, especially for somebody who doesn't play at all and who's kind of just a bench warmer, maybe you should go sit in his chair and do some like, I don't know, low level communicating with the people who create content for the club that you play for. I don't know. I think it would be kind of cool. I think you should do it, Scott. So if you do catch this, we clip this out and we tag you in it, give Will Daughtry your business, please. He deserves it. He's doing the Lord's work. I mean, look what he did to his van just to show his support. I mean, you'll never in America see a barbershop decked out in a team. And if you do, it's probably like the Dallas Cowboys.
Right.
Right? You know what I mean? Like, the only give the man your business. He's worked very hard. He's very excited to spend some time with you and do this, not for his, to build his brand or anything, as much as it is just the fact that he gets to meet somebody for doing something that he truly loves doing. He loves serving
very well.
He does it very well. Barber. He loves serving his community, and that for me is the biggest thing. The fact that he takes time out of his year and out of his business to go help the needy, that speaks volumes about what he does. Because I'm gonna assume that a lot of the barbers don't do that shit over there. So, Scott Carson, like I said, if you're seeing this, please schedule an appointment with Will Daughtry at Barber Docs Clubs. We would greatly appreciate it. I know he would greatly appreciate it, and I think it would be really cool to see you interacting with your fan base.
Because, granted, what Colby said is true. You don't play a whole lot, but the fans you're a legend with the fans. They love
Right.
you, man. Like they really do. And the amount of people that I see posting, Scott Carson is the GOAT. I've seen people with your jerseys at like watch parties and at and at city games over here on the state side. So you are well loved by the fans, whether
Yeah.
you play or not. So great opportunity to give back and allow us to get to know you a little bit better and let the fans get to know you even more than they already do and love you even more by doing something nice for a true blue and somebody who does amazing things for the Manchester community. So great opportunities for everybody involved. So let's make that happen.
Yep. So when we did our Christmas exchange with him, when I was writing his address down, I wanted to send him a Rickroll really bad because he lives in Astley.
Mm-hmm. I know, right? Yeah, that would have been legendary.
That would have been great.
Missed opportunity.
Missed opportunity. On some serious news, we do have a brethren who is amongst the uncontained fires in Southern California, Alex, as well as the whole Hollywood Kipax crew. We want to kind of send our well wishes to them and hope that everything's going all right and that they don't get put into the center of what's going on there. It's absolutely tragic what's going on. I have some different feelings about it that I'm not going to put out on the air just because I feel like it would be counterproductive as to what I just said. There's a lot more deep shit that's going into that whole occurrence that needs to be talked about. But I don't feel that this is the best forum to do it. But I do want to make sure that they know that they have our support, as well as anybody out there in California that is having to deal with this. It's sad. It sucks. And, we hope things get better. That's the only thing we can do.
Mm-hmm.
Just hope things get better.
Exactly.
Lastly, I want, and I said that I was going to do this earlier, and I'm going to do it now. I want to send extra special thanks to individuals that have been with us for a long period of time, that have done the work alongside with us. I want to first thank sorry. I had a brain fart. I want to thank Steve Smith. I want to thank Steve Black for always being here. I know he's not in here, but the one I want to shout out the most, he's in here right now, Mr. John Owen. Both him and Steve Smith, they consistently, on Instagram, they consistently like all of our content, do their job to share it. That, to us, means the world. The fact that there's only a few people that do that, it kind of sucks, but also the same, the ones that are doing it, it means the absolute world to us. It shows that you care about what we do and the effort that we put into doing this, the time that we take out of it, because suffice it to say, everybody, we're not like everybody else that can just pop on whenever the fuck they want. We have very busy lives. We have children. We have things going on that are well outside of football. And the fact that we even take our Sunday afternoons and our Wednesday evenings to do this, to show our love for the club from so far away, it's nice to see that people respect what we're doing and are willing to put us out there and let people know, hey, I like these guys. You should like them too. If we can get the rest of y'all doing that, we'll be in the same realm as City Luke and Martin and all those guys. And I also want to spend an extra special shout out to the both of them, because every single stream, whether we pop in or not, they give us recognition. They tell people to follow us. They do all those things that we ask everybody to do. That should just be kind of an unspoken. Like, if you really like something, you should share it with people. If
you want other people to enjoy it.
Exactly. If these guys if we're your friends, you think of us as friends, the best thing you can do is support us by putting us on your social media. So thank you to all the ones that have done that. I also want to send, not an after the fact, but mixed in with all this, I also want to give Evan from Citizens Fancast, Luke from Nimble as well, because they do their job and making sure that they reshare content. They hit the like. they've subscribed. You know, they're trying to push us as much as they can because they believe in what we do. So for all of you out there that are listening, please do your part and help us grow by hitting that share button, by hitting that like button, by interacting with us. Hell, you can send us a DM if you want to know more about us, you want to talk to us on a more personal basis. We're willing to take those. So please, 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 please help us, help you, help us. And then we can help everything else.
Mm-hmm.
I feel we do a very good job here, not only in display, but as far as content, especially from a couple of dumb Americans, I think we do a pretty damn good job. So really, really help us out if you guys could help. And thank you for all the ones that have. Super, super appreciative of it.
Well said, my friend. Well done.
Thank you. We also want to make sure that we thank all of the new people that have showed up in recent weeks for hanging out with us, giving us a chance. You know, we know we're not everybody's cup of tea, and that's not what we're trying to be. We have, you know, our own perspective, and that's okay. But yeah, thank you all for popping in and hanging out with us and giving us a shot and continuing to stay with us if you have. Really, really appreciate it. With that, I'm going to let Joe close this motherfucker out.
Well, I think you did all the thinking that needs to be said at this point. So appreciate you all for being here this evening, for over there this afternoon. If you're with us stateside, we appreciate you. Like we mentioned, share out our content, share this out on the so people can catch us on the replay. It will be up on audio, where you can find us on Apple Podcast, Spotify, all those good things. Please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button if you are listening. If you're watching on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, whatever, make sure you're doing those things. Follow, like, subscribe, share, comment. And like Colby mentioned, we're always open and available if you'd like to chat further with us. So hit us up in the DMs across any of those socials. Colby and I check them multiple times a day. So willing to have open conversation with anybody who wants to talk shit with us. So thank you guys for being here. Super excited for what's to come with Man City. We play again on Tuesday. Could have some more transfer news by our Wednesday evening show. So look for more news coming your way. And as always, appreciate y'all. And we will go with we'll go with
let's all do the postman. Let's all do the postman.